welcome to the Red Leaf Card, your home for Canadian soccer news and views. My name is Jacob, and to all the listeners, Happy New Year. It's 2025 and a great time for some news. And there is some news coming out from the Canadian Premier League as Commissioner Mark Noonan has some interest in probably from League One Quebec. He is thinking about CS Saint-Laurent going to the Canadian Premier League would be actually phenomenal if would happen. And also some changes in League One Ontario of the promotion relegation. But about Commissioner Mark Noonan talking about CS Saint-Laurent of an expansion club that thinking about of CS Saint-Laurent having interest to being in the Canadian Premier League from starting from League One Quebec and promoting them to the Canadian Premier League would be a phenomenal story, as known CS Saint-Laurent has some good history against Canadian Premier League teams. And as known, there was been a lot of so many fans who wanted to watch CS Saint-Laurent playing in the Canadian Championships, as CS Saint-Laurent had one of the best dominant season from 2024 and including from previous seasons, and a lot from the Canadian soccer fans out there got a lot of attention that CS Saint-Laurent would be a good team to be in the Canadian Premier League. But as noticed, the owners and from the commissioner, they never had any talks in together. CS Saint-Laurent has already been proving that to all the fans that they never even had any talks of being an expansion team for the Canadian Premier League. And Mark Noonan, for commissioner of the Canadian Premier League, never even actually had talks. So it's this back and forth. And during the New Year's, January 1st, Mark Noonan even talked about CS Saint Laurent of that if the team was interest of being in the Canadian Premier League it would actually be a phenomenal story. And yeah, the commissioner right now, as known as 2025, is now already commissioner is already searching for two teams. Right now, the Canadian Premier League is already trying to have the ninth team, who is already pending on, which is in Windsor, Ontario, which is still pending. The 10th team right now, where they're looking at, is always question marks. Where is that expansion team? And right now, it's really that question mark. You look at, should League One Canada teams be in that investing to be a Canadian Premier League team? And for me, it's just, to me, like, is the Canadian Premier League being that to try to grab lower teams to just invest to be major team for the Canadian Premier League? And as noticed, we see this all the time in Major League Soccer of the USL teams trying to move up. Like, for example, FC Cincinnati, we've seen a lot of these other teams coming in for Major League Soccer. Is that if the Canadian Premier League is trying to do the same thing to try to promote League One Canadian teams to the Canadian Premier League, it would probably look really bad for these teams in a financial way. And we've seen, for example, FC Edmonton, how they were from the North American Soccer League, and the ownership from them, they really didn't have a good financial. It was going down, that they didn't get that much fans going to the games. And yeah, you would look at FC Edmonton, how they run, but a lot of fans would say, no, you're going to bring up FC Edmonton of a bad ownership. Why not having a League One Ontario team, or League One Quebec, or any League One BC team that has a great ownership and knows the way, go to the Canadian Premier League? And it's that question of, some fans would say, would you take that risk? And but if there is some investors out there that are in interest for CS Saint Laurent, and have the money to the Canadian Premier League, and to actually bring in like a good facility for the stadium, or all the requirements for the Canadian Premier League standards, which I think that some Canadian Premier League fans don't like to bring up, of what is the requirements to be in the Canadian Premier League. And that's a lot of those question marks from that some fans would bring to the commissioner. And you look at it, you have Valor FC, you have Atletico Ottawa. They're playing in football fields as from TD Place. You have Prince Motor Stadium, and you look at those. Some of those teams in the Canadian Premier League are really not really good. And yes, you might think that, yes, some of the Canadian Premier League teams are trying to improve the standards of a professional team, and how professional they want to be like. And yeah, there's so many out there. So, as noticed, that a lot of attention is going on for CS Saint Laurent, and the Commissioner Mark Noonan is bringing it up as saying that it would be a phenomenal story for this team, which, because as known, CS Saint Laurent made one of the biggest upsets for Halifax Wanderers. They even had a great match against Toronto FC. And we've seen a lot of League One Canadian teams like Simcoe County Rovers, a lot of interest with them. And there's time after time that League One Canadian teams will get a lot of interest and a lot of popularity. And we've seen, like, for example, the team in Peterborough, which is Electric City FC, which brought in a lot of hype, which brought down to actually dissolve in the League One Ontario team. It's to that point that you have to find the right owners to actually have a good Canadian Premier League team to that point. And yes, a lot of fans would say, if that the Canadian Premier League would want these teams, there's always in the future for those opportunities, if probably maybe 3 decades, 2 decades, maybe 25 years, that maybe the Canadian Premier or Canada Soccer would actually add promotion relegation. And a lot of fans would say, is it actually worth promotion relegation to have League One Ontario teams or League One Quebec teams to have that system in promotion relegation? Well, look, you have League One Ontario. They've just did promotion relegation. And some of, for that future, promotion relegation will actually happen for League One BC, League One Quebec in that future. But right now, you have League One Ontario, who has promotion relegation, because the amount of teams that are in Ontario is there. So probably in the future, we might see that happen when there's a lot of interest for being competitive league out there. But right now, it's not happening. Mark Noonan, in my opinion, probably will think in the future that promotion relegation is there, but I think it's not the time for promotion relegation. But some fans out there think that promotion relegation would do well if CS Saint-Laurent, if you actually want that team in the Canadian Premier League. So it's maybe for them to probably find some investors for a time, but it's going to be years to actually get it to the Canadian Premier League. But I don't think that announcing CS Saint-Laurent as the next expansion team for right now, I really can't think that it's that team to be in the Canadian Premier League right now. But as noticed, we're still waiting for Windsor if that will be the upcoming expansion team for this time, but no words yet if for the commissioner that they will be announcing anything. But we still had some sources about Windsor of what their team is going to look like. But right now, there's no second team for being the 10th team for the Canadian Premier League. But in League One Ontario, I mentioned right now what's the updates so far in League One Ontario. So right now there's been news about of the promotion relegation in League One Ontario, as Pickering FC was supposed to be relegated to League Two Ontario, and the team that was supposed to be promoted decided that they will not take the promotion. So they basically opted out for the promotion and they will stay in League Two Ontario. Pickering stays in League One Ontario Championship Division, as the other two teams, so the three teams that were supposed to be in League One Championship for League One Ontario. So it was Scorsopy, reserve team, Alliance United reserve team, and also Vaughan Azzurri were supposed to be promoted to that division. The three teams, so Pickering actually stays. They don't get relegated, as the other two teams that get promoted is the Borough and Sudbury Cyclones. And so it brings in a lot of questions of Borough getting promoted, of how many teams really declined of getting promoted. That it's really that point that did Borough was the only choice at this point, and my question about of scheduling is that point. So this 2024 season went out as saying, so Vaughan Azzurri was first. Alliance United was also the team that was supposed to get promoted, and Scorsopy, the team in Milton, was supposed to get promoted. So all of them declined. So as noticed, Sudbury Cyclones was third place from their season in their conference with 10 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. As noticed, that it really did really well. So Sudbury actually did well, but as noticed, the Borough FC getting promoted, they actually in their conference finished 6th spot in their conference with winning 4 games, 3 draws, and lost 7 games, which their goal differential was -5, which placed them 6th spot. It does lead to questions from all the teams that actually played another team, like, for example, Rush Canada SA, who basically finished 2nd spot. It does question of that, was the Borough FC the right choice to get the promotion? And it does always lead to, was the Borough FC the right choice for being promoted? And yeah, there's a lot of teams. Rush Canada SA could have been that right choice to getting promoted. But if they're looking for that, one of those teams are saying that they don't want to actually get promoted because of how they have performed. Yeah, if Rush Canada SA didn't want to get promoted just because of their performance from their season, I would give credit for that. But the Borough FC wanting to take that spot for that promotion, I really think that they should have actually look back of how they performed in their first season. It's something to look back. But they wanted to be that spot to replace that team that got promoted, I would have no problem with that. I would not have any problem. It's the team's decision of replace them to get promoted. Yeah, and as noticed right now of the updates for the upcoming season of the 2025 season is going to be right now. So the League One Premier, Alliance United FC, Burlington FC London, North Toronto Nitros, as the Oakville Blue Devils have been renamed to Oakville SC, Pro Stars FC, Scorsopi FC, which will be playing in the Canadian Championship. Also, Sigma FC, Simcoe County Rovers, St. Catharines Roma Wolves, who got promoted, Vaughan Azzurri Woodbridge Strikers, that would be the Premier Division, League One Championship, as BVB Academy Waterloo, Hamilton United, who got relegated, Masters FA, Gulf United also got relegated, North Mississauga SC, Pickering FC, as noticed, who didn't get relegated and will be staying for the championship division for 2025. Sudbury Cyclones are the team that got promoted. The Borough FC, who got promoted. Unionville Milliken SC, Derby FC, and will be named Whitby FC. Windsor City FC, and also a new team in that championship division, York United FC Academy. And how the League Two Ontario looks on: Alliance United FC Reserve Team, Burlington SC B, BVB International Academy Waterloo Reserve Team, Cambridge United, who was the expansion team, FC London B, Guelph United FC, the reserve team, Hamilton United Reserve Team, Master FA Reserve Team, North Mississauga SC Reserve Team, North Toronto Nitros Reserve Team, Oakville SC's Reserve Team, Pickering FC Reserve Team, Pro Stars FC Reserve Team, and a new team coming in, Railway City FC from St. Thomas, will be having their first season. Rush Canada SA, Scoroscopy FC's Reserve Team, Sigma FC's Reserve Team, Simcoe County Rovers, St. Catharines Roma Wolves, Unionville Milliken SCB, Vaughan Azzurri Whitby FC, Windsor City, and Woodbridge Strikers, and which all of them were reserve teams in the 2025 season for League Two Ontario. So those are the updates for League One Ontario. And that's full time of Red Leaf Card. You could follow us on YouTube, Spotify, on X. You could listen to us also on Apple Podcast and many more. I'm your host, Jacob, subbing out.